quiet in here. Where's Tanita? Tanita did a good job. Congratulations for Tanita. Good morning, everyone. Happy Juneteenth. Round of applause for Juneteenth. Welcome to the ribbon cutting for Weingart Tower 1, 278 units of permanent supportive housing for people who were formerly unhoused. A lot of dignitaries here, a lot of people to thank. As you know, these projects get very complicated, but don't want to lose sight of what we're all doing this for. So I'd like a round of applause for some of our future residents who are sitting in the audience. A standing ovation would be good for them. And while I'm doing that, I want to acknowledge Doug Guthrie, who leads the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, who just this morning signed the final sign-off for 52 people to move into this building. So thanks to Doug. And then I want a round of applause, even a standing O also, for the next most important people, which is the resident service coordinators who will be providing service to all of these residents. Where are you guys? I want you to acknowledge. They're there in the back. So these are the people who will every day, day in and day out, be helping our residents stabilize their lives. And this is not just a building, this is about people, and this is about giving people dignity and respect. And we hope you look at the design of our building and the interiors of it and come to the same conclusion that we've come to, that everybody deserves a good, well-designed environment. So I'm going to do some quick acknowledgments. You will hear from him in a moment, but I wanted to say a couple of minutes about Jim Anderson, Jim Smith, and Charles Smith, our partners at Chelsea Investment Corporation. And one of the things I want to say is that all of these things start with an idea, and these are the people who joined us in something that was a little bit of an outlier, because this is a big building and bigger than most that we do. And I want to acknowledge the Chelsea Investment Corporation, and you'll hear again from them in a minute, so a little round of applause from them. And a few more acknowledgments before we sort of get to the speaking part of the program. I want to acknowledge the Weingart staffs, particularly my COO, Tanya Boykin. Our real estate development team, who handled all of the complicated things that have to go with this, led by Ben Rosen. Take a bow, Ben. Ben doesn't like attention. And then my staff, Danielle Alexander and Tanita James, where are you? And I need to point out, and you need to see this woman, Adrienne Beasley, who runs the resident service coordinator. And the other thing that I'm tasked to do, at least that's what they said, Jim, is we want to acknowledge all of the other public agencies. So the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, you got Doug Guthrie, also Tim Young, who heads a very important department for us. So a little round of applause for Tim. I don't know if Tim is here. The Housing and Community Investment Department from the city, Ann Sewell. I don't know if she's here. Daniel, are you here? Tricia Keene and Elizabeth Selby. The County Development Authority, Alexa Jensen and Art Gomez. No? Okay. But they deserve applause anyway. And you'll hear from somebody from this department soon, but I also want to specifically acknowledge the director of the Housing and Community Development Department for the state of California, Gustavo Velasquez. The Department of Health Services, Leapy and Libby Boyce. Leapy, is Leapy here? And also the Department of Mental Health, Lisa Wong. And so, having done that, I'm going to invite up Jim Anderson, the president of Chelsea Investment Corporation.
Well, good morning, everybody. I think I just got a promotion. Actually, I'm the Chief Development Officer, but thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate it. Well, welcome, everybody. 2.5 years ago, I stood up here, actually it was in the garden over there, and I said, this is my second favorite day, is to put a shovel in the ground. Many of you were here, some of you haven't, and I said, that was my second favorite day is to start a project. My first favorite day is today. And I'm so thrilled on behalf of Chelsea Investment Corporation to be here with all of you and to thank all of you for all of your contributions and celebrating all the people that Kevin mentioned and some that I will be mentioning as well. First of all, Chelsea was involved with this project really from the outset in 2015, 2016 with the concept that Weingart Center said, we want to do something that is spectacular in the midst of one of the most difficult places to do development in the United States, an area that is notoriously called Skid Row, an area that doesn't have a building of an architectural and service-oriented basis like this. And we said, let's do it, because we like doing crazy things. And so we didn't realize, because you never do, how hard this was going to be. But as you got through it and you saw problem after problem, and there are so many people in this room that helped us get through all these problems, we started to appreciate little by little about how many people were really anxious to make this happen. I have to say, the mayor's office, we almost had a bat phone. We called them on a very regular basis. And can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? Mr. Guthrie, we really called a lot of folks in your department asking for your help. Los Angeles Housing Department, the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services and Housing. We just really went around the horn and asked so many people for the assistance that we really needed to make this project a reality. And so I'm grateful for all of you. And just for posterity, whoever we did not thank, please, a round of applause for all those departments to make all this happen. Thank you. So I want to tell you a little bit about Chelsea real quick. Chelsea represented by Charles Schmidt, our CEO, Chelsea's president, Sherry Hoffman, and Eric, our chief financial officer, and many others are here today to celebrate this experience of opening Weingart Tower 1. We couldn't be more thrilled. We've been in business for 40 years. We're having our big celebration in a couple of weeks. We've done 150 buildings. We have 14 more under construction, and we're not stopping anytime soon. We're thrilled with the opportunity to serve people who are desperately in need of housing of all types, whether it's farm worker housing, housing for intellectual development, folks that are experiencing homelessness, folks that are families, seniors, and really every possible category of individual who is experiencing this very tough real estate market and is in need of housing. So we are thrilled to be partnered with the Weingart Center, and under Kevin's leadership, this has been an extraordinary experience. And we want to thank you and thank your entire organization, Kevin, for the partnership that we've experienced over the last 8 years. And to be here today reminds us what we were all after, this building and this goal. So thank you to the Weingart Center. Some other things I want to do is just acknowledge some of the people who are on the ground every day making this work. I want to first talk a little bit about the team that Chelsea put on this building, some real all-stars. Alex Earl, Tanner Furkovich, Ron Brokoff, Jody Rothery, And then really our MVP, the person who was there every day, was Colleen Edwards. And I want to acknowledge her and this team. Thank you to all of them. And look at this beautiful building. I mean, it's just extraordinary. And when you get a chance, and hopefully you'll have a chance to do a little tour of the facilities, that really, with the whole concept of this building, is to serve the whole individual, not just give them a bed and a sink and a shower, but a place to grow and live and heal and express themselves and really rejoin and re-enter active life. And I think as you walk around and see the facilities that have been created here, I think you get appreciation for it. And because I'm a numbers guy, I also want to throw this in there. The total cost of this building was $595,000 per unit. And if you look at this compared to what you're all hearing in the news, at $1 million a unit and even more for not nearly the amenities, this is a very wise, very smart use of taxpayer money. And we're very proud of it. This will be here for decades, serving the residents of Los Angeles, and we want to do more of this kind of thing. So thank you to all the people that made that happen. And specifically, I want to call out our contractor. It's an affiliate organization called Emerson Construction. Just an extraordinary group of people. May not know this, but people start their inspections at sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're there. And I'm calling them at 6 o'clock at night, and they're there. So this is one of those things that's all hands on deck. Felix Lee, Vahid, Donovan, Alan Eads, Shane Begin, Mai Williams, Terry Brown, the people that were on the ground every day did an extraordinary job, and I would be remiss if I didn't call out my construction MVP, Rob Campbell. So thank you to all of those individuals. Some other acknowledgments. I hope I don't get played off like the Oscars, but I'm going to go quick. Joseph Wong from Joseph Wong Design Associates and Corey Creeth and Gene Fong from Axis GFA were deeply involved in the design and concept of this building. But I have to acknowledge the financial partners. This doesn't get done without a lot of faith, and this building was something that was a stretch for just about everybody. I have to call out the Richmond Group and their partners, Nationwide, Bank of America, Ally Bank, Bank of California, City National Bank, and then some of our other financial partners in the public realm, California Tax Credit Allocation Committee, the California Strategic Growth Council, of course, the City of Los Angeles, the County of Los Angeles, and then specific funding sources. There's a lot of them, but the California Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD, LA County, No Place Like Home, the City of LA, HHH funding. If anybody wonders where HHH is going, it's places like this. And worth every penny. LIHTC Equity by the Richmond Group. Thank you so much, Terry, who will be speaking shortly. Federal Home Loan Bank, an AHP loan, and a permanent loan by Bank of California. It doesn't happen without a whole lot of people working extremely hard to be cooperative of one another, and we just couldn't be more thrilled and proud to be here as Chelsea in partnership with Weingart Center to make this happen. Now I'm going to introduce somebody who is our financial MVP. Terry has been with us for a long time at Chelsea, done dozens and dozens of things, and whenever we have something that is unique and different and something that's out of the box, Terry is probably the first call we would ever make, because Terry is creative, he is a believer in what we do, and he's always there to be a problem solver. Not only was the Richmond Group involved in the syndication of the tax credits, but also a partner of ours on this project. We couldn't be more proud of our partnership with Terry and our 25 years together. Let me introduce Terry Gentry, Executive Vice President of the Richmond Group.
Well, I feel very blessed. I mean, first, I feel blessed to be able to work with such extraordinary people. The Weingart Center, Chelsea Investment Corporation, I think we'll hit 50 projects together, over 5,000 homes for those in need. I feel very blessed to be able to work with financial partners that saw the vision, that bought into the vision of providing safe, affordable housing to those experiencing homelessness in a way that we've never seen in the country. So to the partners nationwide, Francine, Carly, Hannah, to City National, to Ally Bank, to the Bank of California, thank you so much in trusting in this amazing project. I also want to point out that the investment that we made and the investment that the city, the state, the organization made is an investment in economic development, because housing is economic development. This project is going to have a $120 million impact on economic development. Over 500 jobs are going to be created for the investment that we've put into this. Residents and employees are going to spend tens of millions of dollars in this community. That's economic development. So I'm very proud and blessed to be part of the economic development of this neighborhood. I'm also stand here very blessed because I've come from a similar position. I grew up in extreme poverty. I stand before you, the regional president of the Richmond Group, but I started in housing insecurity that include periods of homelessness. I know the pressure of not knowing where I'm going to sleep at night. And so for all the people that have put the effort and time into developing this housing, know that it has an impact, know the potential. And I look at the new residents and say, welcome home.
Another round for Pastor Terry Gentry. And we give these accolades, but I do want to say, Terry and his organization, they're financiers, but they bought into our vision. And that's a unique and rare thing for a financial institution. People look at the numbers, and yes, the numbers worked out, but they bought into our vision. And I also want to say that about Chelsea. We tried to design, we said, A, we want to have impact, so we want to go big. So they're like, I don't know, but okay, we'll go big. And then the other thing we wanted to do is we emphasize that our clients, our tenants, they deserve a beautiful piece. They deserve a beautiful place to live. They deserve some dignity and respect. And thirdly, let's make it upgrade the neighborhood. So if you drive by this building, any of our buildings, including, by the way, the one going up across the street, you don't know who lives there. You don't know what trials and tribulations they've had. You don't know that it's not a market rate building. So we think that our clients, our tenants deserve what everyone else has. So thank you for everybody for joining into that vision. Another set of people who bought into the vision and let us, take this long shot and took this ride with us is the board of directors of the Weingart Center Association. And I'd like to bring up our board chair, Dave Jones.
Thank you, Kevin. And congratulations to you, Tanya, Ben, and your entire team. It took a lot of people to get this done. And I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge my fellow board members, Sean Monroe, our board secretary, our newest board member, Araya Montes Rodriguez, past chair, my predecessor, Warren Louie, our board treasurer, Kristen Jimenez, Jonathan Kay, and Jillian Wagner. Thank you for being here. When I joined the board 14 years ago, the term permanent supportive housing was a pretty new concept in our battle against homelessness. But our board, we bought into it. So this is the best path forward to achieve the biggest bang for our buck to help solve this homeless crisis. Well, as I stand before you here today, proof of concept. Here we are. So, hey, today, thank you for joining us and celebrate this significant milestone.
And now moving on to a little bit different part of the show. So when you're running one of these, and we run, the Weingart Center runs both permanent supportive housing and interim housing, and we have a number of facilities across the city and the county. One of them happens to be called the Hilda Solis First Care Village. It is a model for the country. And again, that is, I feel like one of those movie trailers from the mind of, but it is literally from the mind and vision of the next person I'm about to bring up, which is our county supervisor, Supervisor Hilda Solis.
I have to be honest, Kevin, when I ran into you when I took this position as a Board of Supervisor, I thought, wow, how our worlds have changed. And when you told me that you were involved in housing for homeless, you blew me away. Because I remember you representing Paramount Studios and all those bigwigs, and I thought, this man has given us sweet justice. So I thank you for your leadership. You'll always be our senator and our good friend. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here in this venture because I know you personally. And I know when you get involved in things, you want it done. And yes, sometimes we have a short temper, but we get things done. And if you know him, you know what I mean. And that's what I mean in Spanish, cariño, with love. It's all with love. And I want to thank the mayor and the city council, and I want to thank all our state and elected officials that are here, and all our partners. We don't do this alone. And the county, obviously, is now locking arms with the mayor and the city, and obviously the Weingart. Kevin, you took over running our interim housing over on Vignes Street, 232 units, and it is containers. It's not a beautiful building like this, but it is nice. And you know why? Because we have someone like Kevin involved in that. And he was very meticulous about the care, the quality of treatment, and the respect. And I have to thank the mayor, because the mayor has brought different delegations, I think, from all over the country to come and visit what we're doing there. And I think, for us, I really believe in this philosophy that Skid Row is a neighborhood. It's a community. It's not something to be looked down or thought of as second class. It really does need this uplifting. And I'm happy to partner with you, Weingart, and everyone here. And soon we're going to be opening up the Crocker Center, not too far down the street here, where the Department of Health Services, Mental Health, and all of us are going to be looking at helping to provide recovery so people will eventually be able to come here. And likewise, at our village that we have on Vignes, we're going to see already, I hear maybe 10 of those residents that are going to come and be able to live here, leave interim housing, and come here for more permanent, stabilized housing. So I can't say enough about what you've done, but I will say that I want to thank our Department of Mental Health. I want to thank our Department of Health Services, and I want to thank all the folks at the county, because sometimes people don't understand what the county's obligation is. But here, the 278 units, we're going to be providing the wraparound services. So our funding, which is going to be $1.4 million, will go every year annually to help with the services for the clients and the residents that are here. And that's something that our county is very much committed to. I want to also say that $15 million came through the county, No Place Like Home, and that was a part of our Measure H. So HHH and H are all working together, and this is what the result is. So I just want to say on behalf of the county, and I'm proud to now represent all of Skid Row, in partnership with you and others, because we don't do it alone. It really does take a community and a village. So I want to say thank you. I have a brief scroll I'd like to present to you, if I might. On behalf of the 2 million people and all the folks on Skid Row, we want to say thank you, Kevin.
Oh, you can leave those out.
We want to say thank you, muchísimas gracias, for the wonderful job and the spectacular opportunity for so many people here and around the city to emulate this building and to think that it could happen here. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Supervisor. Also want to add to the name of people that we are applauding or acknowledging Cherie Todoroff, who runs the homeless initiative at the County of Los Angeles. You know, sometimes there are people for whom you don't really need to say their whole name. It's like just a phrase: Cher, Barbara, Queen Bee, Hove, for some of you. And this next person fits in that category. She is one of the leading lights in Washington, and she is the ranking member of the House Financial Services Committee, who is the loudest and most passionate and most successful voice at pushing funding for buildings like this and services to the people that we want to serve. Some call her Auntie Maxine, but her formal name is Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Thank you so very much for that generous introduction. Did you say I was loud?
Loudest for it.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. I'd really like to thank former Senator Kevin Murray, President and CEO of Weingarten Center Association, for inviting me to today's opening of Weingart Tower. This is huge. This is big. The Weingarten Tower grand opening ceremony and ribbon cutting is history, and I'm delighted to be here. But if I may take a moment, I've known you since you were quite young. And of course, I knew your mother and your father. They would be so proud of you. You have talked about your vision for what was possible in this building. For a long time, I thought it was just a figment of your imagination. And then when I came to realize how much you had put into this, your board, how hard you had worked with all of the cooperating organizations, I must say, I'm here today not only for the ribbon cutting, but to say thank you, Kevin Murray. Thank you so very much for your leadership. Now, this building represents a major victory in our relentless fight to end homelessness in the city of Los Angeles and all across the country. I thank the Weingart Center Association and Chelsea Investment Corporation for leading the way in making this important project a reality. Through this development, not only will hundreds of Los Angeles residents experiencing homelessness now have a permanent place to call home, but they will also have access to supportive services tailored to their needs, including critical physical and mental health services. I'm so pleased about that. Give them another round of applause. I'm also especially pleased that this project will also bring improvements for all of the greater Los Angeles area known as Skid Row and Los Angeles community through increased public transit options and improvements to pedestrian and neighborhood infrastructure. The use of federal resources to help fund Weingart Tower, including through the Housing Choice Voucher, HUD-VASH, and low-income housing tax credit programs, shows the power federal funding has in helping to end homelessness. I remain committed to working with my colleagues in Congress to secure the federal resources needed to help end the worsening affordable housing and homelessness crisis, including working with my bill that's known as the Housing Crisis Response Act. Just a word about these bills that I have put together that were first introduced in the Build Back Better Act, but we did not get that passed because there were two misinformed members on the Senate side who didn't remember what their job was. The Housing Crisis Response Act which represents the housing title of the House-passed Build Back Better Act, would invest more than $150 billion in fair and affordable housing investments to nearly 1.4 million affordable, accessible homes, reduce housing costs for all, and help address stubborn core inflation. The Ending Homelessness Act, which would end homelessness and significantly reduce poverty by transforming the Housing Choice Voucher Program into a federal entitlement so that every household who qualifies for assistance receives it, including youth and young adults. This bill also includes a federal ban on housing discrimination based on source of income and veteran status. And finally, the Down Payment Toward Equity Act, which would help revive the dream of home ownership for all and help address the racial wealth gap by providing $100 billion in direct assistance to help first-generation home buyers, including anyone who was placed in foster or institutional care, cover down payments, living costs, closing costs, and buy down mortgage interest rates. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a political event. This is an event that requires the support and cooperation of all of those that have been mentioned and more. And after November, we will have an opportunity to get these bills signed into law. This is not a political event, but November will make the difference.
Another round for America's Congresswoman. So again, these projects are very, very complicated and hard to finance, and you've heard about all of the layers. And one of the major things that we require are tax credits. And you've got to do these complicated applications, and those are approved by the Tax Credit Allocation Board, and it takes tax credits and bonds. And those are all things that are in the purview of another good long-term friend. Please welcome Treasurer Fiona Ma.
Thank you so much, Senator. This podium is not big enough for all of these microphones. It's great to see my speaker, Madam Karen Bass, my former colleague, Kevin DeLeon, and of course Lourdes, who we'd worked with, and Gustavo and Hilda, and of course the fabulous Maxine Waters, and to the Chelsea team, to Jim, and to Charles, and to Jim Schmidt. I've been working with them for the last 6 years now as the chair of the SIDLAC and TCAC boards, allocating the tax credits and the bonds, along with Gustavo and Calich FA. And we have rolled out more, we have approved more applications than ever before, thanks to the generosity of our governor, Gavin Newsom, who has put in an extra $500 million state low-income housing tax credits in every budget since he got elected in 2018, as well as 2 rounds of federal disaster tax credits, thanks to Congressman Thompson as well as Congressman Panetta. And that has really made a difference in getting all of the projects that are necessary. And just to say, I started as a CPA in the real estate tax department, left and started my own practice, and then got hired by Senator John Burton. And for those of you who know John Burton is all about helping those who need the most help. And so formerly homeless individuals, people that needed our help, single moms, foster youth came into our office. And people always say, what can we do about homelessness? Why is this an issue? And I have to start with saying, many of us are one paycheck away from homelessness. How much money do we have in our savings account? And I'm looking at everybody when I say that, right? And then what happens when you have an unexpected event? You lost your job, you have some sort of illness. All of a sudden, you've lost your house, your apartment, and then you're in your car. What happens when your car gets booted? You've lost your car. What happens when your ID gets stolen. When your driver's license ID gets stolen, you need to have a passport, an original birth certificate, or your original social security card to get another ID, right? I mean, this is real, folks. And so having a place like this where we have a community that is available, willing, helping not only provide this type of roof over someone's head, but also with the wraparound services, which is so crucial to getting everyone back on their feet. We are all God's children. We have a responsibility to make sure that all of us are taken care of, given all the opportunities that we all want in life with dignity and respect. So I thank all of you for being and playing a part of this amazing facility. This is going to be a model around the world. Thank you.
Karen Waters, welcome. I'm sorry I had to, that's a me and Karen thing. I also want to point out along the way that, you know, we designed this building and people bought into the vision. And this building has some amenities. There's a gym. There's a music room. There's an art room. And I want to point out that we're not just trying to house people. We are trying to keep them housed. One of the ways you keep them housed is to engage them. And so not only do we have our resident service coordinators and an activities coordinator, but you have to keep people engaged. And when people are engaged, they buy into their community. They make sure and maintain the building and frankly self-police the building. They will want to stay. The other thing we do is we remove all barriers. So one of the main barriers that people use when you're trying to convince them to come inside is they can't take their pet. This is a 100% pet-friendly building. When you take a tour, you will find that inside this building, there are 4 pet runs inside the building. And one of the things we also understand is that in order to get the next building done, we have to show our neighbors that we are also good neighbors. And so we try to find as many things that we can put inside the building so that you don't have the chaos that you sometimes see outside the building where people are moving to and fro. So you can do just about anything you want within this building, and it's a regular apartment. That's the other thing to emphasize. It's a regular apartment. You sign a lease. You come and go as you want. You have guests as you want. So I wanted to make sure that, as the Congresswoman and some of the other speakers talked about, that's the level of dignity and respect that we believe our tenants deserve, just like everyone else. Because if you've got a regular market rate apartment building, there would be a community room. Why not have a community room here? So thank you very much for that. Now I have to look at my cards to see what is next. Oh, this is very important to me because this person I met as an intern in Sacramento, and now she has a very long title, which is Undersecretary of the California Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency, Melinda Grant. Come on up.
Thank you, Senator. And you're right, that is a long title, and I know you like short titles. That's just what you do. And thank you to all of you who are here. Happy Juneteenth. Speaking of dignity and hope, it's very overwhelming to be here and to stand on the shoulders of so many folks in this front row and in this front row, and this ancestors and the great-grandmothers and the folks who would be so proud, right? So just happy Juneteenth in general, and thank you for doing it on this day. I hope, Senator, that Jordan and Matthew treated you well on Father's Day, and they're very proud of their dad. Hey! I'm here, obviously, on behalf of Governor Newsom. I'm here on behalf of our agency secretary, Tamika Moss, and we are just absolutely thrilled and excited about this project, 278 units. I just want to recognize, again, HCD Director Gustavo Velasquez and all of his tireless work, the behind the scenes, the late hours, the 1,200 employees that follow him that are providing technical assistance, that are answering the hard questions. We see you, we appreciate you, and we know your impact and the outcome that this has. We're just so impressed with the fact that there's the project-based vouchers that are involved. I mean, we could just go on and on about how wonderful this project is. And, you know, since 2019, the governor, along with the legislature, has invested billions of dollars in housing and homelessness, and we're often talking about results and outcomes. Results and outcomes, everybody. This is wonderful. Thank you for just the collaboration between federal and state and local. It's just a beautiful example of what's to come. We're just ecstatic, and I also wanted to recognize one other person. We have the Senior Advisor on Homelessness for the Governor, Hasfa Keika, excuse me, and I just want to give her a few minutes as well.
Thank you, Undersecretary Melinda Grant. Ooh, tiny but mighty. Okay. Congratulations. Thank you so much. The governor could not be here today, but he is recognizing the good work happening here. I just want to take a quick moment and remind that under the Newsom administration, the state, prior to that, there was an investment of $500 million, and now there is an unprecedented $15.3 billion in housing and homelessness for locals such as you to ensure that we are getting people off the street and into housing. And now with Prop 1, historical investments, we're going to be able to get additional $2 billion ongoing to be able to get housing just like this. Yes. The state of California is leading this strong, and we are setting the model. And I just want to say to Mr. Murray and Tanya, you started this out right. You recognize the individuals who are going to be living here. And that's when you know that there is purpose, perseverance, and power in the work that we do. Thank you so much.
So obviously these projects take, everybody rowing in the same row, in the same direction, and the city of Los Angeles, of course, is important in that not only do we have Proposition HHH, but Proposition H and all of the other propositions, but the other thing you need is you need the planning department. You need the building permits. You need Department of Water and Power. You need to hook up, all sorts of things. And one of the things you need help with that is your local councilman. So let me bring up our local councilman, who has been a fabulous supporter of this project, Councilman Kevin DeLeon.
Good afternoon to each and every one of you. It's in fact an honor to stand here today as we inaugurate this incredible new addition to our city, the Weingart Center's 19-story beautiful jewel right here in Skid Row. Now, today is a testament of our collective commitment to addressing the most pressing issue facing any community in the United States of America, but especially acute here in the great city of Los Angeles, which is the crisis of homelessness. Now, I remember when we broke ground just a few years ago, right here underneath our feet. And I remember before that, when Kevin and I spoke about this idea, I was a little skeptical at first, I must admit, the stacked financing, trying to deal with the complexities of how we finance and put this deal together. It is complex, much more complex than financing on the private sector side when it comes to development. But nonetheless, you put it together, and I applaud you and your team's efforts. This building stands tall in the heart of Skid Row, symbolizing our unwavering dedication to creating a brighter future for all Angelinos, regardless of who you are and regardless of where you come from. As I look at this magnificent building, I'm filled with a deep sense of gratitude and fulfillment, because for me, it is a moment of a full circle. I remember back in 2016. In 2016, not too far from here, just a few blocks from here, we had a press conference, bipartisan press conference, believe it or not, Democrats and Republicans together coming from the Senate side, when I made a decision, and I signaled it very clear, that I would write the proposal, Senate bill, No Place Like Home. Now, this is a measure that we passed in the California State Senate as well as the Assembly. Then Governor Jerry Brown signed it into law, and it became Proposition 2, which was before the ballot in 2018. Now, as a result, this magnificent building that we're in today is a beneficiary of roughly $15 million of that No Place Like Home measure that I drafted back in 2016. And as a result, it was $1.2 billion statewide. Our county, LA County, we have received roughly about $700 million. That money is to be utilized to put a roof and provide dignity for our unhoused neighbors who have been suffering greatly for years, if not decades, living on the streets. So for me, it is a moment, of a full circle to be here and to be in a building that benefited from that measure and the complications of that measure. Because we originally, I inserted that into the budget with the deal I cut with the governor, then Jerry Brown. We got it passed, budget was signed, and actually we got sued, Madam Mayor. We got sued, and there was litigation that ensued. And I had to make a decision. I remember my chief of staff coming to me and says, "Boss, you have to make a decision. Either we litigate this and we don't know what a judge will say, how far it'll be appealed, or we run a bill once again, but we have to get 2/3 supermajority." That means at that time we didn't have supermajority Democratic controlled legislative body. We had Republicans, a lot of Republicans at that time, although we had the majority. But we got it passed in a bipartisan fashion, and then Governor Jerry Brown signed it, and that's why, we have no place like home. This reassures us with a sense of purpose. When we have passion and when we come together, we can actually achieve big things. This building is more than just a collection of units because it's a community. Within these walls, future tenants will find more than just a roof over their heads. They'll find opportunities to transform their lives. Picture a resident who, after years of struggling on the streets, because as was just mentioned a few moments ago, when you experience homelessness, that's the lowest point in your life, when you're living on the streets, when you experience homelessness. Now, I want you to picture, a resident here who has now access to a computer lab where they can learn new skills and apply for jobs. Imagine the joy of another resident finding solace and creative expression in the art studio, rediscovering their passion and their talents. One of the most poignant aspects of this project is how it exemplifies our belief in the potential of every individual. The amenities here are not just mere conveniences, they are a catalyst for real change. The gym that Kevin just mentioned is not just a place for physical exercise, but a space for rebuilding physical and mental strength. The cafe is not just for meals, but a hub for community and connection. And these features remind us that we're not just investing in housing, but in people's futures. And what we'll add to the surroundings too is the $47.7 million that we were able to secure from the California Department of Transportation, CTC committee up north in the state capitol, where we're going to have 500 brand new trees planted, new street lighting, new street fixtures here, as well as benches. $47.7 million. It's the largest investment of its kind, infrastructure-wise, in the history of Skid Row. So that's going to add, my man, to this beautiful building that you have here. The journey is not easy. The homelessness crisis in Los Angeles is vast and complex, but we have a mayor who has made significant steps towards having a huge impact on the human condition of those who live on the streets today for years, if not decades. Today should remind us that we must continue to push the boundaries, to innovate, and to work tirelessly until everyone in our city has a place to call home. I want to, again, extend my deepest heartfelt, thank you to all of the partners, all the supporters, all the visionaries who have made this project possible, but especially to my good friend, Senator Kevin Murray, for your leadership and dedication. To Tanya, I want to thank you very much. When Tanya calls, we act quickly, because Tanya is also a constituent of CD14. Together, you have uplifted, you have built, you are building community. And I just wanted to say just something really quickly, because I know we had Univision here, we have Telemundo here. Yo nomás quisiera compartir algunas palabras, aunque sean muy breves, en español. Estamos aquí colectivamente, líderes de nuestra comunidad, para hacer todo lo posible para mejorar la condición humana de tantas personas que viven en las calles, sufriendo de condiciones de calle. Indigentes viviendo en los callejones, en sus coches, en las calles, en los parques, a lo largo y ancho de la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Son personas que merecen dignidad y respeto, sin importar el color de su rostro, sin importar su estado legal o su país de origen. Por eso estamos aquí colectivamente con todos los líderes desde el Capitolio, presentes aquí, nuestra superalcaldesa de la ciudad de Los Ángeles y toda la diputada, la supervisora del condado, Hilda Solís. Y gracias, mi gran amigo, hermano, de otra hermana, de otra madre, my brother from another mother, Senator Kevin Murray. We didn't have a chance to serve together, but I did know your father, Willard Murray. May he rest in peace. He was a big mentor for a lot of folks, and I wish we had the opportunity to serve together, but we're serving together, locked in arms today to provide dignity and respect and a roof for all of our residents. Again, if you have an opportunity after today's conference, please visit and go upstairs. Beautiful. That's what our folks deserve right here. Go into the rooms, go into the gym, go into the music room, go into, right now, we're in the cafeteria right now, go into the dog areas where you can take your dogs right there. Go and see the panoramic views right here. This is a 5-star residence for our 5-star residents who are living on the streets today because they deserve it. Thank you very much, everybody, and God bless. Gracias.
Before we move on, I want to point out this display here. This is called a welcome home kit. So if you can imagine, hopefully your mics are getting it. If you can imagine somebody's on the street or moving through interim housing, they don't have pillows, they don't have bedding, they don't have plates and pots and pans and knives and forks. Every resident who moves in here will get a welcome home kit like this. And I want to acknowledge that our good friends at Amazon, Marie Lloyd, if any of you know her, donated most of the things inside. And the good folks at the Soho warehouse had an event where they brought all of their people in to help us put them together. So again, a round of applause for all of them. One more acknowledgement. I don't think he's here yet. I think I saw Joanne, but I haven't seen him yet. But I want to thank also for his great support, our current chair of the Los Angeles City Council Planning and Land Use Committee, and future, actually not even future, we're going to call him President-elect of the Los Angeles City Council, Marquise Harris Dawson. Let's make it louder than that, because we're going to need him in the future. And then finally, I want to bring up a person who ran for office with a stated goal, actually stated 1, 2, and 3 goals, was to address our homelessness problem. And I want to say she, and I see Lourdes and Carolyn, she and her office are just Johnny on the spot whenever we're trying to do something. Between the supervisor and all the other dignitaries in this room and the partnership with the mayor, that's what brings these things forward. And so I'd like to bring up our mayor, America's mayor, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Karen Bass.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I really, really appreciate that. What a way to celebrate Juneteenth. This is a beautiful way to celebrate Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a day of freedom, and one cannot be free if you are living on the streets in a tent. I think this is a beautiful way for people to come together and a demonstration of a slogan that we've used from the beginning of the administration, and that is locking arms. And locking arms is not rhetoric. It is a conscious strategy of what is needed to address this problem. Kevin, Murray, and Tanya, I just can't talk enough about you. I did have the honor of serving with you. It was kind of brief. I think it was 1 term when you were in the Senate and I was in the Assembly. But your dedication to this issue, the beautiful building that this is, and this is a magnificent building, but this is not the only one. You have buildings this beautiful on the west side of LA near Century City that when people drive by would have no idea that it is a building to house people who were formerly unhoused, because what you are demonstrating is that all Angelenos need to live in dignity. And just because you are unhoused, that does not mean that you should live in substandard housing as though it is a punishment because you are unhoused. The amenities that are here, I know, are going to be talked about in a way that is not so positive. A gym, music, art, recreation are all the things that are needed to heal, that are all a part of mental health and getting people to a place where they can be self-sufficient, because if you wind up unhoused, you have a tremendous amount of trauma that you have gone through and you are going through every day you're on the street. So thank you for those amenities. Thank you for this beautiful housing. Give him another round of applause. Coming together means starting from the top. Our federal partners, everybody knows that Congresswoman Maxine Waters, if you're in Washington, D.C., and I had the honor of serving with her for 12 years, if you're in the House of Representatives or the Senate, don't talk about homelessness or housing without talking about the Congresswoman. So she talked about the bill she has that we're rallying, by the way, mayors all around the country to support the legislation. But the money that we received here for COVID with Project Room Key and Project Home Key, now I was there when she said, if this isn't included in the bill, I'm gonna hold up the whole bill. And that's the money that we got. People don't often know the origins of the money. But you have to have federal agencies like HUD, and Jason Pooh is here representing HUD, and we had a fabulous HUD secretary in Secretary Marcia Fudge, who made sure that we had the resources. Our state representatives that are here, and my colleague Fiona Ma, we serve together, and you make sure that those tax credits come here. Supervisor Hilda Solis, I love taking people by the Hilda Solis Village, and everybody should go by there because it shows the creative way of getting housing built in shipping containers, something, by the way, the U.S. does overseas all the time. Some of the solutions that we provide for the rest of the world, we could provide for our own people. So the leadership that we have here in the city, I know voters say, I voted for Proposition H, I voted for HHH, and I haven't seen anything. Well, now you can see what HHH has done. Proposition H, in providing the services, is soon going to run out of money. But I'm here to say that yesterday, a new proposition qualified. That we will have the opportunity to vote on in November, because we need to make sure that we extend the services. We have our partners on the city level. Councilman Kevin De Leon, who previously was the president of the state Senate, and as he described, led there on this issue, and is leading here and represents this area of town. And we've worked in partnership together because we know that Skid Row is the epicenter of the unhoused situation in our city, but it also provides the hope and the opportunity. And as you so brilliantly described, Kevin, Skid Row is a community. It's not just throwaway people, it is a community. And to bring that community together in beautiful housing like this is what everybody deserves, and we will see the transformation of Skid Row under your leadership and the other leaders that work in this area. So I am thrilled to be here. I remember when I drove past it and you were describing what you were gonna build, and I'm like, Kevin, really, you're going to do that? Well, look across the street because more is on its way. Thank you for your leadership. I look forward to seeing the healing that will take place here, and I hope that this becomes a model that can be replicated all over our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the mayor. I want to go back because I think we need to do this again, and we've thanked a bunch of people. But another round of applause for our future residents who are moving into this building. They are the ones we do this for.